Okay, so jumping into Daredevil Season 3, Episode 2, we see Agent Nadeem has started a raid here at a house, and he caught a wanted Albanian criminal with the Mother Teresa tattoo on his back. What we learn about this raid is that not only did he get this criminal's sidekicks with him and his whole crew, but this also led to them getting corrupt people that work for the city. And this all comes off a tip from Fisk. And we see Agent Nadeem goes back to the office all cocky. Another agent just tells him Fisk is just a gift that keeps on giving. Then it cuts right to Wilson Fisk, and he starts benching at the prison, and his spotter drops the barbell on him and stabs him and calls him a snitch. But Wilson Fisk does the most Wilson Fisk thing ever and throws the guy and the barbell right on top of him. I loved him stomping this barbell on the guy's throat. I really wanted to see him throw that giant weight onto the guy's face as well, but he held back, obviously not wanting to screw things up with his chances of protecting Vanessa, his lover. And this was smart by him too, because he knows he has to look like the victim in the situation here, getting stabbed. He wants that appearance to the police, so they'll move him out of this prison. So nice Wilson Fisk scene to open the episode, and they're really letting him shine right away in the season, which I like. Then we see Sister Maggie finds Matt downstairs from his night out, and his senses are still super sensitive. We hear that ringing coming in and out again. And there's some interesting dialogue here where Matt asks Sister Maggie how she would feel if she couldn't be a nun anymore, losing what you thought was your true calling, as he feels now. And this is his way to tell her to leave him alone. But she presses on about not losing faith, and that she had similar experience that he's having, and was confused herself about what God wanted. But Matt says that's the difference between us. I no longer care what God wants. So this season right away is already super focusing on his conflict with God and his faith. But the transition here to the flashback of him as a kid wasn't the smoothest. Kind of just happens, and it's when he's a kid with Father Lantom, and this actually ends up being a great flashback where Father Lantom tells him being angry is not sustainable, and he's calling him out, saying you're good at arguing and deflecting and denying you're angry to other people, which totally sums up Matt Murdock perfectly. And props to the child actor here who plays Matt, because he nails his mannerisms and his vibe in such an important scene to do so. And the father has a great line here where he's like, you're going to have to find a way to deal with your anger and harness it, or it's going to destroy you. A lot of foreshadowing here. I'm assuming this is a hint that Matt's anger is going to cause something terrible to happen this season. I also like the father explaining to him here that maybe Matt's the one who doesn't understand what original sin is, and for him to realize we're not puppets to God. So this is going into really deep religious theory and territory here. And Matt says he's sick of not hearing from God, and the father has a great line where he's like, not everything is the burning bush scenario. God speaks in whispers. And it's such an important scene because it really shows well the upbringing that molded Matt's conscience and his moral compass, and where his inner conflict always roots from, this faith. And I really like the scenes with Father Lantom because we get to see the relationship since day one, to where we see Daredevil when we first even started the show, where he's in a confessional with him, that he's always been there with him throughout all of this, and he's learned different things from this father and reacted to him much differently as the show goes on. So this was a strong scene. So I'm back to Nadeem. Nadeem sees there's people in his boss Tammy's office who want the full-time gig on Fisk now. And he was given this raid, and he's the one who got Fisk to talk, and now it's getting all pulled from beneath him. But like these Netflix shows do, any scene with FBI agents or cops, this happened a lot in The Punisher, they make them super corny and really cartoony characters, and you're gonna get cringeworthy lines. One being here when he says, he's my kill, I get to eat first. And to top that, Tammy responds, there's a goddamn buffet in that conference room. You can't fill up on that? That is some terrible writing, and I don't know anyone who would talk like Tammy does in that scenario. Why even have her respond or say it like that? So she brings up that her boss will still not be thrilled that this guy has a financial crisis, but he gets her to agree. It's kind of odd in the scene how quickly he just flips her mind. She's like, okay, I trust you. By him just saying that he had a connection with Wilson Fisk. Just felt a little wonky, this whole scene. So I hope these Netflix shows really try to make the side regular cops and FBI agents, that story area, more realistic in tone and not as corny. So then we go to Karen Paige, and her boss tells her real estate agent Rostem Kazim and his daughter Netta were attacked, and that it might be a kidnapping attempt. And he wants Karen to cover this story. But she says she's too busy and working on a story about people suffering from respiratory illness around the block where the building exploded where Matt was. So she's still obsessing over this and holding out hope that he's alive. And the boss reads right through this, and he's like, what is it about Midland Circle, Karen? Not just a story, is it? And he's like, I like your writing on this story, but you need to have it be done now. And he's like, I thought you could emphasize with someone in a family crisis, referring to Netta, who was attacked. And that line's important too, because right there we're already learning from the boss that Karen has a lot of family conflict in her life that we are yet to learn about, which we'll see later in the episode. So it's a nice call by the boss. He knows his employees and he knows who Karen really is and what she really needs to do. So then we see Wilson Fisk lets Agent Nadeem know now that everyone knows he is a snitch. The guards to the inmates in the prison, saying, I've become a target in these walls. I'm helping you to help Vanessa. I can't do either of those things if I'm dead. This just shows again how Wilson Fisk is a master manipulator. You know he had thought all of this out to get transferred and away from being in a prison. So we see Matt walks into the church, and we see a really cool flash he has of himself as a kid hearing prayers. It's a cool sequence showing off a way his senses would work in a situation like that, where these people think no one can hear them when they're praying, but this kid with his senses can. And he says a great line to Lantham, I thought that God let me hear the prayer so I can answer. I thought it was God's voice. All I really heard was people in pain. My delusion was thinking God had anything to do with it. I'm Daredevil, and not even God can stop that now. So this really is igniting the dark path he's going down. This is great focused writing for this show. I'm really impressed by this scene, and I like that they're moving along now Matt's transition and not wasting time. We're only on the second episode here, but we've seen a believable state of mind he would be in after everything that's happened. And it makes it exciting and it refreshes the character. So Karen goes and visits Netta, and she tells Netta, people said I killed my brother. And she's like, when he died, everyone wanted to know what happened. So Karen emphasized with Netta here and uses this example to show Netta, if you don't tell me your story, people are going to make it up and it's probably going to be bad. And hinting more into Karen's mysterious past, learning that this all tore her family apart. So I like that they're building character for Karen here, and we're learning now about her backstory. I'm very interested in that. So they're not just making her a one-note character. And then Netta explains her story and says 2 men tried kidnapping her father, and we only got away because a man with a black mask attacked them. So, of course, this is going to ignite a fire in Karen and get her conspiracies going in overdrive. So this scene was super effective, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone by giving her reason to get even more into finding about Matt and actually believing that he's alive, and adding mystery to her character and her backstory. So there's not a scene to be wasted here right now. So we see Nadeem convinces the district attorney to let Fisk out of prison and be under watch of the FBI, which is super risky, and they know that. But Nadeem just has a way of convincing people. And right there, you gotta be like, oh my God, there's no way Wilson Fisk is someone you want to let out of a cell. Ever. So then we see a scene where Foggy goes to visit his family at Nelson Meats, and he sees his mother, and she tells him that his father's arthritis is getting really bad, and that he should be on a beach and not cutting meat anymore. And she's like, your brother Theo can't do all this alone. Come help with that brain of yours. So she's not pressing him because she says, you know you don't have to, but she's doing that little guilt on him. And we learn now that Foggy has a supportive family. They all seem friendly. They're middle class. And he's now this more successful, rich guy. And I like this backstory and character building now for Foggy they're doing. And he's facing the guilt of being the most successful in his family, and if he's giving enough attention to his ailing father. It's just even hard to watch him seeing his father struggle with that wine bottle. So it's really smart the show is right away jumping into giving Karen and Foggy solid backstories and character depth, with a lot of these Marvel Netflix shows ignore with side characters. But also worries me to death that Karen or Foggy, because of this, will get their death in this season. So who wants to start a betting pool on which one's going to get it? My bet right now is on Foggy. We need something to set Matt off completely, whether it's at the time of one of them dying, it turns him back to good and fighting for good, or it actually makes him go completely dark. So I'm interested to see how they will handle that. I really think one of them will die this season, though. So we see Wilson Fisk has a device on him, and when they're loading up Wilson Fisk to leave the jail, we get our first glimpse of Agent Poindexter, aka Bullseye. So we'll get back to that in a second. So we see Matt goes to the dry cleaner he's suspicious of having the guys who attacked Netta and her father. And he feels the guy, and he notices he's missing a finger, and he's all bruised up. So he goes to the basement, they have guns, and they have like a torture chair, and then we get a nice action sequence with him beating up thugs, which you all love to watch with Daredevil. But he's still extra sensitive in some hits where the ringing comes back. So that also adds a freshness to these fighting scenes and how he's dealing with not being as strong. And then we see Matt lets Netta know now at the hospital he found those guys. And she says, thank God for you. And he's like, he didn't help you, I did. I love this line. Now this is a type of comic line that works in a show. You need to still have that for the diehards. It gives out the nerdgasms. And it shows completely in that one sentence, Daredevil's a completely new man. And can this mean that killing might be in the cards for Daredevil in the future as he further strays away from God, that he'll actually consider that? We will see. So Foggy thanks his brother Theo for taking over the shop. And Foggy says to Theo, we need to figure out, and Theo stops him and he's like, knock it off, you're living the dream. And clearly Foggy's referring to the father and how to take care of him. Foggy's like, am I living the dream? And he reflects about how things didn't really go as he envisioned, about him and Matt having a law office together and being super successful as a team. And he says when Matt was around, he knew who he was. So again, solid writing here. Really showing us what's going on in the mind of Foggy well. And then Karen shows up, and Foggy has a great, much needed comic relief line where he's like, now everyone can stop worrying about my career choices and worry about me cheating on Marcy. And shout out to Eldon Henson here, who plays Foggy. I'm so impressed by his acting in this show, and it gets better every season. But Karen tells Foggy, I think Matt's alive, because she informs him that she heard about a man in a black mask. But Foggy's still pushing that Matt is dead and gone. And he's like, if he was really still alive, he would have reached out to us. And Karen has a great line. She's like, don't you want to take a minute and make sure your best friend is not out there? And again, Foggy's like, he's dead. It's a nice conflict built up between the two of them. And it shows exactly where they differ on how they react to Matt's choices. And you just know Foggy's going to be super pissed when he finds out Matt didn't reach out to him that he was still alive and put him through this mourning. And it's a blind spot on Foggy because he never can just see it's Matt protecting him. But Karen, I believe, can and will react in an understanding way. She's always been more rational about it. And to me, this is Foggy's downfall. So then we see Nadeem has Wilson Fisk in his car, and he's got a bunch of FBI agents with him. And Fisk has a nice monologue here about not feeling fulfilled when he was alone, craving a connection. But then he found Vanessa and discovered love. And he's like, love is the perfect prison, inescapable. Viincent Donofrio pulls this role off perfectly. I know you all knew that, but you gotta keep giving him props. These are such tough scenes to pull off and say the right way and convincingly, and still as a villain, he does that note for note. And he's like, I'm always in prison where I go, referring to this love prison. I will do whatever I must. And then bam, crazy explosion. And then we get a shot of Nadeem and he's all bloody and he's not moving. Wonder if he's dead already. 2 episodes. And Fisk is stuck in the car. He's chained up with the handcuffs. And it's the Albanians coming for him. They want their revenge for him snitching him out. And it's great tension build up here with the Albanians trying to get to the car and open it, while Wilson Fisk is rolling around in the car, trying to get out in a way. And these Albanians wipe out all the FBI agents except one. Because then all of a sudden you hear a gunshot. And it's awesome. And it's all shots in the head and knife throws to the throat. What a sick introduction for Bullseye. And he says, convict, don't move, to Fisk. So now things are getting juicy. Bullseye is with Fisk. We'll see where this leads to, what this FBI agent's really going to do right now. And then we see Matt hears people outside saying Fisk is out of prison. What a cliffhanger now to this episode to set Matt off. This is his arch nemesis. This is the guy that always gets to Matt and drives him insane. So we will see. This episode was strong. It was very HBO quality-esque for a Netflix show, with strong writing and focusing really hard on these characters, showing Matt as a kid in his conflict with religion, then hinting and building a mysterious backstory to Karen with her family conflict, and why would people think she killed her brother, and Foggy now struggling with the guilt of success and with his family. We get a sweet intro for Bullseye, and I just love this downward spiral for Matt Murdock going really into Daredevil territory of darkness. I'm giving this one a 9.5. I really loved it. It's only setting up these next episodes to be amazing. I don't know how they can go wrong now with this great character building, great action, and great themes going on too. It makes you think this season. And it adds all these questions that you can be excited about, like what happens now with Fisk and Bullseye. When will Matt, if ever, come to Foggy and Karen maybe for help or tell him he's finally alive? There's all these great mysteries and excitement build up, and it's only episode 2, so I can't wait for more. Please let me know what you thought down below. I read every comment. I try to respond as many as I can. Please subscribe. You don't want to miss any of my reviews. And I have a playlist up here that reviews the first 4 episodes of Daredevil, so you can watch my next review right now of it on episode 3. And please follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.